we know Blizzard has a ton of currencies. I can't even keep track of half of them. I don't even know what's going on at the time. I loot stuff. I don't even know what it is anymore. But here it is. Some of the currencies that you might want to learn about where to turn them in. First of all, there's the Mark of the Sepulchre Supreme, or sorry, Spelunker Supreme, and then the Web Warped Curio. These are two currencies that you'll be seeing that you can get throughout Season 1, whether you're raiding or doing certain things. And you might want to know where to turn them in, because there's 3 specific vendors that you will use for these different currencies, and these vendors will give you different things. So they are all located in the City of Threads of Ashkahet, and they take different currencies. So first of all, there's Ab-Zal, that's his name, and he is actually the PvP vendor, so be careful. If you take the Mark of Spelunker Supreme, you can get PvE or PvP gear depending on which vendor you go to. So if you go to the PvP one, or Ab-Zal, he will give you 639 item level arena or battleground related gear. So be careful. If you are going for tier gear and you wanted to get that, you have to go to Ip-Zal. Now, Ip-Zal is another guy that's going to take your Mark of Spelunker Supreme, but he's going to give you a piece of tier set armor that's more PvE focused. So make sure you don't waste it, because there is no specific reason why you can't use one or the other. So make sure you use it in the right spot. Then there is Zerk-Zal, which is going to take your Web Warped Curio from Queen Anne-Sarek, and that'll go ahead and give you an armor based on the piece of armor, tier set armor, based on the raid difficulty that you were in when you obtained it. So it's the difference. The Spelunker Supreme will only give you hero track tier gear, whereas the Web Warped Curio will give you very much difficulty-specific tier gear. So if you were doing your, your raid on Mythic difficulty, nobody's done that yet, because the Race World First still goes on. Who is knocking? But if you did it on Heroic, you will get a raid difficulty Heroic track. So there you go. Conicia, what is up? Welcome in. Moving on to the War Within hotfixes for September 25th. Those just went through, and there is a ton of nerfing across the board. 2 dungeons and raids continuing to come out here. For Arakara, City of Echoes, we see a bunch of nerfs. For Kiktal, we see they resolved an issue where the poisons would apply to some effect through immunities. City of Threads, we see splicing duration changed, reduced to 6 seconds, was 9. Necrotic Wake, a few reductions in damage here from different things. Siege of Borealis already had a ton of reductions, and they're adding on top of that to make sure that people don't get stuck in certain areas. Clear the Deck now is a cast visual, so that's good. You'll be able to see it. Stone Vault. Voidbound Howlers will now properly reset with their health and leave combat. I guess that was an issue where they weren't leaving combat. And then Narubar Palace. Brood Twister has seen reductions in all kinds of his abilities, and now we're seeing that all of his little addy boys that can come out also have a bunch of reductions. So we see lower group sizes to a bunch of the ads, reduced number of targets for some of the ads, reduced number of damage, increased cast times for things. So just a bunch of stuff being reduced. Next is Princess. We see that her ads are going to be much easier to kill now, so that's pretty good. And then a bunch of damage reduction to her abilities as well, so that should be a little bit easier. This is for normal and heroic, by the way, not mythic. If you're progressing there, these changes don't apply there. And then for Queen Anne-Sarek, some damage reduction to some of her abilities as well. And fixed an issue causing Frothy Toxin to sometimes apply fewer applications than intended on Mythic difficulty. So that's the one Mythic difficulty change that we see there. People currently progressing, I've seen Liquid, Method, and Echo are still very much progressing on Queen Anne-Sarek. I believe it is Liquid in the lead, followed by Echo, and then Method in terms of percentage-wise. So we'll see how that fight continues to go on. And then a few PvP changes coming up. Updated Shaman models got updated again. That's right, the new Ascendance models, which I kind of liked, but I did think they were a bit weird in some ways with the hair and everything. Well, if you didn't like them, Blizzard just came out with a 3rd version. So now you're going to be able to pick between which versions you want. Let's look at the newest one first. These are the new Ascended base models, I should say. Here we have the Air one. Very cool. I don't know if you guys have watched Moana before, but it just very much looks like the Tahiti boss at the very end of that movie. That's what the face here reminds me of, especially the lava one. I mean, it looks like Tahiti right there. I don't know. Maybe you've seen it, maybe you haven't. You don't know the reference I'm making here. I have little kids, so of course I've seen it 6,000 times. I have a 2-year-old daughter especially. She's watched it a million times. But I think these look a lot better. I do. I like these a lot. I think these are much, much better. Very cool looking models. Obviously, we got the wind, air. We got the air, water, and fire versions of it. I like the hair a lot more. Much cooler here. Much more, I don't know, masculine this one looks. I feel like the other one was kind of a bit more feminine in terms of the way it was standing and the hair and everything. But here's the good thing. So we have these new models. If you did like this one, right, this version of the model with the hair coming out and everything, it reminded me of the damn... the boss at the end of the dungeon in BFA. You know, the Haunted Mansion dungeon that we did? God, I can't remember her name. But it was her and her husband. You fight them at the end. She had hair like this, and that's what this model reminded me of. If you do like this model, there will actually be a glyph that will allow you to glyph into this model called Glyph of the Energetic Ascendants, which will allow you to transform into this model. There will also be a glyph of the Traditional Ascendants, which will allow you to transform into the original model. So whichever one you want. Yeah, Lady Waycrest. That's the one I was thinking of. I forget every time. Yes. This is so you'll be able to choose if you want to use this model, the current new model, or the old original model. So you know, pick what you like. I guess it's the age of the shaman. Shamans are doing so good in healing, DPS, and they're getting all this cool new stuff. Happy for shamans and everything they're getting. Maybe a tanking class one day. Blizzard announces BlackRock Death's raid testing. That's right, raid testing is going in full swing. If you forgot, BlackRock Deaths will be a raidable in the new anniversary event that's coming out 11.0.5, where raid testing has begun starting September 26th and ending October 5th. Basically, you're going to get normal difficulty and then heroic difficulty, which is very cool that we're getting both. We're getting two difficulties of this. I still have no idea if these are going to drop just cosmetics or item level related stuff, given that we're having two difficulties for this. Maybe there is some item level related gear coming from this thing. But overall, I'm very excited to do this. The anniversary event, all in all, looks very, very cool. And speaking of anniversary, we do have PTR, development patch notes, and updates to classes. So this isn't just going to be an event cosmetic stuff. There are updates coming into the game. And man, oh man, hunters, what the hell? We're going to talk about them in a second. They're getting a ton of buffs. But the Dracthyr Racial is getting a bit of a nerf if you are not playing as an Evoker. So if you're not playing as an Evoker, there's a reduced movement boost when pressing Glide. So I guess when it comes to PvP and stuff, it might be pretty advantageous to have a mage that can glide super fast across different spots. Well, that's not going to be available anymore. You'll just glide at a reduced speed now. Dark Iron Dwarves have added zones for their little mole machines in Kultiris, Zandalar, Dragonflight zones, and Shadowlands zones. So that's cool for their little racial. And then here comes some of the changes. So we see some little druid changes here or there for Guardian, Elune's Chosen, Balance Guardian, different things. Not much going on there, but Hunter. Look at Hunter. Dark Ranger is getting 100% increase to things like Shadow Surge and Bleak Powder. This is going to be insane. Dark Ranger is going to be, I think, biz for Hunters for a little while here. So we're seeing buffs for that. Beast Mastery also getting multi-shot damage, 300% increase. Holy crap. Kill command damage increased by 20%. A ton of increases across the board. These are all buffs across the board for Beast Mastery Hunter. Again, Dark Ranger also getting some increased buffs here. And then Marksmanship also getting buffed. We see the Narubar Palace 4 set bonus, consuming Priestess Shot, increases damage for your next aim shot by 20% was 10. A bunch of other things to tier set bonus, Razor Fragments, stuff like that. Buffs and buffs and buffs. Even Survival Hunter getting a little bit of a buff here. Mages seeing a couple reductions, include for Arcane, a slight increase here in unerring proficiency, and then Frost getting a little bit of buff. We did talk about it not too long ago. Fire got buffed a little bit, so I think they're trying to balance out, because I'm sure right now every single mage is playing Arcane right now. And then you said, what the fuck? What about Paladin? Well, here they are. For protection, your base armor is increased by 10%. Blessed Hammer, Judgment, and Hammer of the Righteous cooldowns reduced by 10%. Armor from the Shield of the Righteous increased by 10%. Innermost Light increased by 33%, so that's good for prop paladins. I don't see anything else beyond that for paladins, but for prop, those are pretty good buffs. Rogue getting a little bit of a change here. Faint no longer triggers global cooldowns. And then Shaman, the new Ascendance forms that we just went over with glyphs that you can pick basically what you're going to do. Elemental and Enhancement getting a couple changes here. Looks like a damage increase. So that's good for Elemental. Shamans are in great spots, so I'm not too worried about them. Warriors. Thunderous Roar now deals reduced damage. Arms now is reduced damage beyond 5 targets, and then Odin's Fury now deals reduced damage beyond 5 targets. We all know warriors right now are the AoE kings. They are destroying everything when it comes to AoE. That's part of why prot warriors are so valuable right now in Mythic Plus. So a couple reductions there, but I'm sure they're going to be just fine. And then some PvP changes down here. Interesting stuff. Now this is what I really wanted to talk about today. Guys, this book looks insane. I didn't even know this thing was coming. So this book, Play Nice by Jason Schreier, shares an exciting look inside the unlikely partnership and inevitable division between Activision CEO Bobby Kotick and Blizzard President Mike Morhaime that reshaped the companies forever. So there's a few little summaries and blurbs here that I do want to talk about from this book that basically give you a very, very much an insight into kind of the fallout between Blizzard Activision, leading to kind of the Blizzard that we see today, because it's very much different from the Blizzard of old that we grew up loving. But first off, really the thing that allowed the thing that allowed Bobby Kotick to weasel his way in, right, was the fall of Titan and everything else. We'll talk about that in a second. But originally, the way things started out is, Blizzard very much had a philosophy that it'll be ready when it's ready. You guys remember that? That was what Blizzard employees, we used to always hear from them. They would miss deadlines all the time on games, but damn it, when a game dropped, that shit was great. And it would sell like hotcakes. That was Blizzard's philosophy. In contrast with Bobby Kotick, who they say the company's ground was littered with the corpses of franchises that have been sucked completely dry. That's right, Bobby's sucking everything up. Among some of those names were Guitar Hero, Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, and Skylanders. Bobby Kotick, very much a profit-driven CEO, could give two shits about the product itself and really just wanted to exploit every single thing they could to get more money out of things. Now, there was a kind of a division wall between Blizzard and Activision early on in their, after their merger, that allowed Blizzard to kind of still act in the way they did previously. Well, Kotick, being the little rat that he was, waiting for his way in, found his way in when the Titan project completely fell apart. So, Titan fell apart, right? A bunch of, mismanagement, stuff like that. $80 million, spent and not a game to show for it. Eventually, they would launch Overwatch, which would be successful for them for the most part. But because of that $80 million loss, Kotick came in and said, hey, we got to bring the CTO into meetings now. That's right. We got to bring, CTO. We got to bring the Chief Financial Officer, the CFO, into meetings more now. So this man right here, Mr. Armin Zerza, you can really thank him for a lot of shitty changes that have happened at Blizzard. He's the one who really started to bring into more cost-effective stuff. He's actually the one who originally said, why don't you guys just cancel BlizzCon? Like, BlizzCon's not a very profitable thing. Why do you even do that? The fun police, the man who brought about disaster for a lot of things in Blizzard. And basically, he started sitting in a lot of meetings, with Bobby and Mike Morhaime, and just kind of, talking about, hey, we got to get more profit out of these things. We got to milk this for all it's worth. Some of his comments at meetings started with, asking why Hearthstone wasn't like more like Magic the Gathering or whatever. He said you need to allow players to buy more card packs more often. And why is Overwatch not selling more apps and skins? Like, these are the kinds of things that he would ask in meetings. As I said before about BlizzCon, he asked questions like, why was BlizzCon maintaining expensive projects with low profit margins, such as the annual BlizzCon event? Blizzard managers explained that having their own convention engendered loyalty from customers and employees. Zerza continued to emphasize the fact that he thinks they should kill it, which eventually they did. So I agree with the fact that what they said, though, the Blizzard employees, that it did engender a lot of loyalty from customers, right? Like, BlizzCon was something that felt very much like focused on the Blizzard franchises and games, and as somebody who was an enjoyer of those things, it was like one of the greatest celebrations, and at least it wasn't a money loser. I mean, the guy was mad that it just wasn't making a lot of money, which is absolutely ridiculous and a horrible way to run a company, but there it is. This guy basically had every freaking bad idea you can think of. So things came to a T in April of 2018, when Johnson organized an off-site event for leaders of all three divisions, Activision Publishing, Blizzard, and King. And the theme was unification. 1ABK was basically the slogan. And Johnson called in the meeting, and Kotick at that point realized this is the end. This is the time where my company is now going to finally be sucked dry of everything it's worth, pulled in. He'll no longer be able to manage it the way he's always enjoyed, because prior to this, there was always kind of an invisible wall where Morhaime, I should say, ran, Blizzard the way he wanted to, and Kotick kind of did his thing with Activision. Well, after the offsite meeting, Morhaime wrote a lengthy email to Kotick and shared with several other executives declaring that Blizzard had reached a tipping point. He says, "I believe that preserving Blizzard's culture and magic is necessary for preserving Activision Blizzard's advantage of having an organization that can attract and retain the best creative talent in the world, and that can consistently produce the highest quality games and experiences," he wrote. "It has been increasingly hard for me to provide Blizzard leadership and staff confidence that Blizzard has a stable future." And now it makes so much more sense. So there's a lot more to this book. It delves into all kinds of stuff. They interviewed 300 current and former employees. I'm not making money off advertising this book, but if you are, very much into the history of Blizzard and you want to know what really happened, this seems like a great book. It's all based on the first-hand interviews, as I said, of 300 current and former employees. Play Nice chronicles the creativity, frustration, beauty, and betrayal across the epic 33-year saga of Blizzard Entertainment, showing us what it really means to bleed Blizzard blue. Full of color, personalities, and dramatic twists, this is the story of what happens when the ruthless pursuit of profit meets artistic idealism. Man, Sam paid in WoW tokens, don't I wish. Yeah, the book isn't out yet. Comes out October 8th. That's right, it's not out yet. This was a preview released by Bloomberg. And overall, this book sounds very interesting. This is going to be a cool, maybe holiday read. I definitely want to get into it. We all knew that when Morhaime left, that there was something behind it. That just didn't make sense. Even the awkwardness of the exchange on stage when he was leaving left a lot to be desired, and we kind of all knew that this man left because the Blizzard he knew and built no longer existed. That's right. Audible credit. Man, I got to get into Audible. Yeah, that sounds like a great read on Audible. Back to some Blizzard stuff. If you guys have fought in the Stonewall dungeons, you know that this boss, Master Mechanist, can be quite a bitch. Well, there's a little bit of a cheat code now for him. A perfect spot to tank him. So the next time you're in here, if you're the tank, or if you are, let me bring up the quality here, or if you are, not the tank, mark this spot for the tank. Coming down here to this little corner and tanking the boss facing this way will actually enable you to avoid every single mechanic. There, he does the pull acrosses with the boxes, he does the swirlies on the ground, all kinds of stuff. The only mechanic, see right here, the box is coming down, you're still okay. The only mechanic you'll have to dodge with this positioning is the lava cannon. So if you can get past that, you'll be okay. Basically, taking him right here allows you to avoid everything else. So do it while you can, but do it at your own risk. Blizzard might eventually hotfix this to allow the box to have a bigger drop radius, basically killing everyone if you stand here. But for now, this definitely works and is a very easy way to avoid probably one of the most mechanic-intensive bosses right now in the game when it comes to Dungeons and Mythic Plus. And then last but not least, people are starting to defeat Zekvir. Zekvir is your, tier 13? He's actually a tier question mark, but you get to him by pushing up the tier list. And what kind of rewards are people getting? Well, if you defeat him on single question mark difficulty, right? There's two. It's double and single. You can get the achievement Nemesis, which is part of the Glory of the Delver thing, which will give you that ivory-looking buggy boy mount, the beetle one. You can also get the cosmetic Zekvir's Raptorial Spike, which is this cape. And last but not least, you'll get the toy Toxic Victory as a reward for completing him. In this season, the toy will give you a spiderweb aura for 30 minutes. And then if you defeat him on double question mark, that's how you get the Void dirigible badass looking skin for your dirigible mount. So there it is. You can do him on solo. You'll get an achievement for doing him, let him on solo. As I said, you'll get the mount, and you'll also get Hunting the Hunter achievement, which grants you the title Ascension Breaker. So get in there, push your delve up. Beyond tier 8, you're not going to upgrade the gear anymore, but you will eventually get to Zekvir and get some cool loot, I guess, including this, which is probably one of the cooler things. And that is all in terms of news.